So, welcome to the Global class. Today we would be starting the second topic of development. The first topic of the development was the meaning. Under meaning, we discussed about the basic needs versus well-being, growth versus development. Today's topic, we are going to discuss about the types of development. Now, I would be giving you the overview in types of development. I won't be taking in detail because generally we go into the discussion mode while discussing about this topic. I usually divide my class into smaller groups. I give them the types and then we discuss, right? So I would be giving you what you may expect under types of development, what what could be the question from IB, what the question which is already asked by IB, and what could be the case studies, examples you may think of. So let's get started. Types of development. Think first, you think what are the types of development. So when you are thinking, you may pause it, you can write it down before we go further into the types of development. It could be on the line of once you have thought, then we can discuss in the class, but not here. So it could be economic development, probably you were thinking of political development, social development, environmental development, or sustainable development, or the human development, right? You might be thinking about all these types of development, right? Now, what generally we see under development, in case if we take all these things, right, all these pointers, which is types of development, then we would be considering from economic point of view what we want to see. We want to see the impact of these types of development on economy or on that country. What could be the impact of economic development on the political system, or it could be even the vice versa also. What kind of political system a country has which is impacting the economic development, right? Whether the country is stable enough to give boost to economy, or whether the country has an anarchic system, or what kind of political system, what kind of political ideology a country has which may impact the economy of that country. Social development, when we would be discussing, we would be discussing that how societal factors may boost economic development or the development of that country. What are the important factors through which a country can develop, right? In case if a country is developing, then it is impacting not only just one factor which is economic, but there are many more factors. How would you be connecting many more factors? You would be thinking about your key concepts, right? The impact of these indicators on the other factors of the development. In case if a country is developed one, it will have a stronger legitimacy, or it may have, right? Because you may call China also as a developed country, but you may question the legitimacy of Chinese government. But in majority of the cases, you see the legitimacy, you see the control over the power, you see the control or stronger sovereignty. You remember in one of the video I asked you, always remember your 16 key concepts. If you connect your 16 key concept to any of the key concept, you can bring lots of points, connected points. So think about the 16 points and think that how development can impact the other 16 key concepts, right? So under the types of development, we are discussing the types what we mentioned in the beginning. Let's go. So number one type is economic development. What do you think about economic development? When you are talking about economic development, you are thinking about GDP, right? You are thinking about sustained growth of income, right? You may think of trade, which could be in terms of import or export. Okay, what could be the other factor under the economic development? It could be in terms of lower poverty or reducing poverty. Okay, then see it's written over here higher equality or equity, lower poverty, higher security, better standard of living, um, employment, greater chance of employment, right? These could be the things which you may think of economic development. So now what in economic development? What happens in economic development? What could be the outcome if you have good economic development in your country? Freedom of choice may increase over there, right? First point. Second point, you may have social mobility, right? It may be in terms of industrialization, it may be in terms of urbanization, it may happen movement within the country or movement even outside the country also. But chances are less in case of economic development taking place properly, then citizens of that country would be leaving. No, there would be no drain of knowledge, right? There would be brain gain, there won't be brain drain, right? Okay, well-being of a country would be pretty high because country has enough um, resources, enough finance to spend on the well-being of the citizens of the country, provided country's political stability is there, countries taking right political decisions. If all these things are falling in line, then country may think of the well-being of a country because it has already achieved, considering it has already achieved the basic needs of this one. Apart this one, you can see these points also which are mentioned on the slide. Okay, so this is about the economic development. What examples can you think of under economic development? So one example you can think of economic development, Rwanda. How Rwanda progressed. It had genocide in 1993, right? This genocide was between the two tribes named Hutus and Tutsis, right? Now, what happened after 1993 or since 1993? Paul Kagame has been ruling this country, and the economic growth, economic development of this country is exponentially. This country is known as the Singapore of Africa also in terms of cleanliness, in terms of progress, economic growth, economic development. So the political decisions taken by the government, the political is the political stability, low level of corruption, all right, all these factors they helped Rwanda um, to become economically developed country of Africa, right? So one example you can think of Rwanda, where it saw turmoil phase, it came out of the turmoil phase and it progressed economically over there. The second example you may think of Japan, low at natural resources but the way it has been progressing, considering its political decisions, considering its IT sector, and the work ethics, everything, right? So the second example, which is considered as the developed country of Asiatic region, you can explore the examples in on sorry the revision sheet as well. Okay, the second example you can think of Japan, and the third you can think of Venezuela. Despite rich natural resource, which is petroleum, it couldn't do good job, right? There is something known as Dutch disease, where this country could not focus on many sectors but focused only on petrol when it found it, right? So it grappled in this Dutch disease, where when the prices of oil fluctuating, it could grapple into that, right? So Dutch disease, you can read a bit more about Dutch disease and the example of Venezuela from revision sheet. It's available on globo.info. Okay, so these are the three examples, two positive example and one negative example, which gives you which gives you insight even of the political stability, political decisions also, that how political decisions help these two countries, Rwanda and Japan, to progress, to develop, and whereas Venezuela, how political instability or the political decisions ruined this country's economy. Good. Okay, now we move to the second types of development. So we would be discussing more about economic development in the class. Now the second one is socio-political development. I'm taking this social development along with political development. When I say social development, we are talking about gender equality, we are talking about education, we are talking about even no discrimination on the basis of race, class, sex. All right. So these are the factors what we are discussing under social development. Under the political development, we see transparency, we see stability, we see low corruption level over there, we see timely elections, we see political system, we see even the decision making process of the government also. These two indicators, they help a country to boost its economy. Remember, no economy can take place without social development or the political development. We have one example of Saudi Arabia, where we see the country progressing now in terms of social development, where it has started giving rights to women, right? We see country progressing on this line. It has started opening up its economy. It has started progressing on social front. Why? Because definitely it will boost its economy also. Political development, the similar example you can pick up of Japan or the Rwanda, right? Or even the Venezuela as the counterclaim in your example also. So these are few of the examples what you can think of. Another example of the gender equality, you can think of Iceland, where the gender equality is pretty high. Now, due to this, think about the economy of this country, right? One more factor you can think of tourism over here. In case if a country is socially developed, would it increase its tourist sector or not? Think over it. All right. So these are the few factors which are connected to social political development, and how social political development can give boost to economic development or development overall. Fair enough. The next type is sustainable development. Not necessarily sustainable development needs to be studied from environment point of view. You can think sustainable progress, sustainable growth and everything, but here we are considering sustainable development from environment point of view. Okay, because we have already discussed economic development, social development, political development, and now this is the sustainable development. Sustainable development Now think whether the economy and sustainable development can they go hand in hand. When you're thinking about this one, you are thinking about two theories, capitalism versus environmentalism. All right, capitalism versus environmentalism. One example could be of Brazil. All right, which path should it take, or which path developing countries should take? Developing countries should take. Should they take the path of sustainability, environmentalism, where they don't have to harm the environment, or should they take the path of modernization or industrialization? A few of the examples you can think positive is Nordic countries. Okay, it could be Norway, Denmark, where you can argue that these countries which have started working on the sustainable development, right? So few examples are there which you can think of that what leads to the sustainable development. Another examples you can think of those developing countries where due to the sea water rise, the submergence of the land is taking place, right? So what's happening in such countries? So a good debate around this one. How do you see economy and sustainable? Can they go hand in hand? If yes, in under what circumstances? If you say no, then what are there? You can argue on those on these 2 points. Capitalism and environmentalism can be your counterclaim. Clear enough under sustainable development what we discuss? The next form. Okay, this is the question which is asked by IB on sustainable development. Evaluate the claim that the challenges of sustainability mean that development may no longer be possible. So that means those factors which are challenging the sustainability. Okay, there are different factors which are challenging the sustainability. What it could be? Think and write it down on a notebook. I have already given over here. You can see in the speaker notes. Okay, you can see over here. Ambitious economic development could be one part, then global consensus to preserve natural resources, climate change, non-renewable. So there are so many factors. I'm not dropping all the hint together. Think over it that what are those factors which are challenging the sustainable development, right? Sustainability. And do you think that those factors may not allow development to take place? This is what the question is asking. In case if there are many factors which are challenging the sustainability, then it may not allow development to take place. Clear? Okay. Now the last type of development, it's human development. The human development, it is propounded by Mahbubul Haq and Amartya Sen, right? They gave the definition of this one. What you are supposed to do, you go through this definition of human development and bring forth your own points of human development. What do you think? Do you consider human development as the most significant form of development amongst all, whatever you have studied? If you see the skilled labor or if you see human capital as the most important part of any country, do you think that the development would be more aligned to the need of the people or to the need of the country? What do you think about the human development? All right, so these are the types of development. And the last prompt of the day, this is from Mahbubul Haq. The real wealth of a nation is its people. And the purpose of development is to create an enabling environment for people to enjoy long, healthy, and creative lives. This is the purpose of the state, right? Why the state is created? So what Mahbubullah is saying, that the states are created so that they can provide such environment where people can enjoy long, healthy, and creative lives. This simple but powerful truth is too often forgotten in the pursuit of material and financial wealth. So, a glimpse of growth versus development. So, now my question to you is, in case if a country is given choice whether to think of the development of its people or think of its own development, okay, it may be in terms of growth, GDP, GNP, and all these things. So what do you think of it? Okay, the country should first focus on its people or on country itself. You may argue that in case if it is focusing first on the people, then automatically it would be on the country. Or you may argue that it's imperative that first we go for the aggregate growth, for the median growth, and then we start focusing on every individual. First, we think of abject poverty, or we do not think of the absolute poverty. So what do you think? What do you think that a country should do? Individuals or wholesome? Think over it. And this is what you discuss under the types of development. Solve the question on your paper. Think over all the examples. Prepare your example from the revision sheet, and let me know if let me know in the comment below in case if you are thinking of any example and if it suits to that type of development or not. I hope you enjoyed the class. This was informative for you. Stay tuned for further videos.